I really enjoyed Camp Rock 3. I think it's important, first of all, to establish my perspective, as I feel like, depending on where you're coming from, you might have a very different reaction to the film. I did not grow up watching the films. I had not seen them until, I think, this year. I think I watched both the first and the second film this year. I really thoroughly enjoyed them. They feel nostalgic because of things like the costumes, but they're not nostalgic in the sense that they take me back to childhood memories. If you are very fond of the films and grew up with them, you might feel differently about Camp Rock 3. But from my perspective, I thought it was a worthwhile sequel. I think it retains a lot of the qualities of the first two films, potentially introducing a new generation. But also I feel like the first two films are also still great for the younger generations today. So certainly, I think it's a decent sequel, and if you enjoyed the first two, I think you'll really like this. This was released, of course, this year in 2026. It's directed by Veronica Rodriguez, written by Eydie Faye, with a cast including Liamani Segura, Malachi, Barton, Lumi, Pollack, and various others. Of course, we also have the Jonas brothers and Demi Lovato, and again, while I really like the first two films, I'm not really emotionally connected to the characters. So when they first announced this, I wasn't sure if it would very heavily follow Mitchie and the Jonas brothers, well, Shane, Jason and Nate. If that's what you're looking for, then this probably won't deliver. But that didn't bother me, but that is certainly worth bearing in mind. However, I do think it's very good. Connect 3 are looking for an opening act at Camp Rock, and of course the characters at the camp are wanting to compete for this position. They also have their own personal obstacles at the same time, so there's plenty of substance there to keep it interesting. There are obviously questions about who will be the opening act, and we also get to know the characters more and any emotional problems they may be facing. And I did find it to be generally engaging. As with the first two films, I wasn't really emotionally attached to any element, but at the same time, I don't have any problems at all. I think it's a nice way to bring forward the quality of the first two films with some new characters, and that worked really well. Obviously, we have the Jonas brothers and Demi Lovato, but there are plenty of new characters at the camp, and I think that the performances are fantastic. The characters are believable. They're very well written. There is so much talent in this film. The performances are just absolutely incredible, and so much music as well, which is something I think I remember noting with the first two films. It's not a musical where there are very few songs. There are so many songs, and I absolutely adore that. The music itself is very, very good. The performances, as I said, are fantastic. Great pacing, great narrative, brilliant characters and performances, wonderful music, lovely locations, great camera work and lighting, really good costumes. I prefer the costumes of the first two films because, as I said, that is an element that's kind of nostalgic for me, but certainly everything here looks brilliant. I have zero complaints about Camp Rock 3, and usually when a film has a sequel or a third film after a really long time, I always hope that the studio doesn't do another film immediately after. I'm looking at Hocus Pocus, because I feel like after a long time the film will be successful because of nostalgia, but there's not a need for another one immediately after. Again, Hocus Pocus. But with this one, if they do a fourth film, I'd be really happy to see that. I think there's a lot of potential there. I think there are so many different things they could do, introducing new characters or retaining some of the same characters. Although what's more likely, and I don't know if they're going to do this, but it's more likely that they do a TV show, because that seems to be what happens now. Either way, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a worthwhile sequel. I think, for me, it was really enjoyable. The characters and performances are brilliant, and the narrative has a lot to offer, and the music is great as well. Again, not nostalgically connected emotionally to the first two films. If I grew up with them, I might feel differently, but from my perspective, I thought Camp Rock 3 was a really good film, and of course, I'm happy to recommend it.